Hey photography phenology class, I wanted to introduce our first project that we will be doing together as a group. Our first project has to do with something called a composition. And you can see this is project one, part one, so there will be a second part coming. To go back, a composition is kind of an interesting term. You hear it in painting and drawing, but you also hear it in photography. Almost every form of art thinks about composition. And basically what a composition is it's a way of placing things that are the main focus of your picture in different spots to make it look visually interesting, to draw the eye, to create a feeling. There's a lot of different ways of doing it, and it makes a picture look really strong. Now, in drawing and painting, you would go, oh, okay, I will draw the flower in the corner because it will pull my eye. But in photography, you're dealing with real things in real spaces. So you, the photographer, are thinking about where am I moving around with my camera, making these really intentional choices so that when I'm looking through that viewfinder, what I'm putting in the picture is an intentional choice, is set up to look visually very interesting. Sometimes a composition might be really close up and zoomed in. Sometimes it might show a huge space. Sometimes it might have something off center. There's a lot of different ways to do it, which is what we'll be exploring as a group. I do very quickly want to address the class is really about nature photography, and people do play a role in nature photography, and some are more helpful and some kind of distract from the genre. So you can see in this picture over here, the person serves the purpose of, yes, there's someone who probably took a really cool photo, but they show you how big and beautiful this natural scene is. So oftentimes when we see people in nature photography, it's to actually showcase the nature instead of distract. Over here you can see this person in this expanse with the light coming down. It makes it feel like you can put yourself there. This picture, these boys, they're washing a family bowl. It's about their relationship to nature. This one is a bad example. If it's a person looking cute just in a natural scene, I would say that is not the genre of nature photography. If you choose to put people in your photos, make sure you're thinking about how can they enhance the photo versus distract from the photo. This one is probably a good in-between because although it's a picture of a person, they're completely obscured by nature. The colors in the flower bring you to the colors in the background, but then bring you back to the intensity of her eyes. So here's an example where it's still nature photography, but it is also showcasing a person. So make sure when you're thinking about your pictures that you're taking, that you're showcasing nature if you're going to put people in it. So what we'll be learning about is there's basically 10 different composition types, and we could lecture about it for the whole quarter, but instead of doing that, we're going to divide them up among us as a group, and you're going to teach each other about each one so that you can get the whole range of different ways that you can take a photograph. There is the rule of thirds composition type, the leading lines, framing, background, balancing elements, cropping, juxtaposition, pattern symmetry, viewpoint, and depth of field. So you'll be learning about all of these from each other, all the different ways of taking an interesting photograph. So I'm going to be going through the assignment requirements and the rubric so you know exactly what you have to do to pass. So the goal of the assignment, I'm starting at the top, is to learn about the 10 basic photography compositions related to creating a strong photo. We'll select one composition to become an expert on, so you will be picking one, and you're going to create a presentation to teach the class about your composition type. The big ideas of this is that strong photographs are intentional. The photographer is making decisions that are enhancing the picture that they're taking, and there also are many different ways to take an interesting picture. So remember to keep that in mind. The purpose is it's going to practice the skills you need to take nature photographs and the skills of observation that we're going to need during the quarter. In terms of the assignment requirements, you're going to select your composition type, going to create a presentation, and your presentation is going to be a minimum of 4 slides, and it's going to include a description of your composition, which I'll be giving you resources to do research on the description, a visual example, an example of a famous artist or photographer who uses it, and an example of a wildlife conservation photographer who uses the composition type. And then, of course, we're going to want to be respectful and appropriate when people are presenting and make sure our presentation is appropriate. So here's the project rubric. This is the last thing I'll talk about briefly. I'm going to go through the 3 achieved, so how you pass the project, but I will call out some of the things in advance just in case you want to push yourself. So in terms of your presentation, the presentation content is the first thing I'm looking at, that you have 4 slides, that it includes a famous artist's photograph and a famous nature photograph example. If you want to score advanced, just putting additional visuals is a really easy way to do that. Then I'll look at that your composition type info is accurate and it has everything relevant that we need to know, and you talk about why it's important. So why does zooming in on the subject make it a good photograph? Talk about the why. Your presentation skills, just that we can hear you, it's an organized presentation and it's appropriate, and you're using time well so that your presentation isn't taking 20 minutes when it should be just a quick 5-minute presentation. If you can answer a follow-up question from the audience, that will score advanced on the rubric. And then audience support, that we're just being a supportive audience while someone's speaking. If you want to score advanced, you can ask someone a question or be encouraging of the speaker. So that's essentially it. I'm going to post a form to the classroom after we talk about this project that'll allow you to sign up for which composition type you want, and we'll be able to start working on our presentation when I see you next. So thank you for listening, and I hope this was helpful.